Today I'm going to show you how to transfer an image to a canvas. I used my large format Epson printer to be able to make a 16 by 20 inch image that I'm going to transfer onto this 16 by 20 inch canvas. But if you don't have a large printer, you don't need one for this method. You can use any printer and just tape the different sheets together so that way they will be large enough to fit whatever size of canvas you would like to transfer the image to. Also, you don't have to have a high quality image for this, so you don't need this expensive printer like I have back here for that either. You can use any type of printer or even a copier. And here's the thing I love about this method. It's affordable and easy. Anybody can do this, and it all centers around this transfer paper. It's by Serral and it's red. So what's awesome about this stuff is that you can use this not only to transfer your images to a white canvas, but you can use it on a black canvas or a canvas that you've already painted some colors on, as long as they're not red, right? But any other color, this will show up. It's very easy to use. First, you've got to get your cat out of the way if he's on your table. Go on, buddy. Okay. He likes to help. If you've watched any of my tutorials, you know he really likes to help. Okay, so you take your image and you lay it face down. Okay, then what you want to do is you get out your transfer paper. You can use this stuff a whole bunch of different times. It'll work for 20 or 30 times, maybe more, without having to replace the sheet. It's important to have your transfer paper a similar size as your canvas. I've got a lot of them in here that I've used before, so we're just going to take these two. Now they're slightly larger than my paper, but that's just fine. What you can do is just tape them together on here, and you see there's a seam down here in the middle. That's just fine too. I mean, you don't have to have this exactly perfect. You just need to have it to where it's covering your paper underneath most of the way. This red side, no, and you don't want your cat to eat it, because they might get sick from it. I don't know. It's wax free, but it's probably not cat edible. All right. So what you want is to have the red side up and the whitish side down. That way, when you are transferring the image to the canvas, the red stays on the canvas where you press when you're tracing on the image side. What I like to do is just get some tape. You can use any old tape for this. I have packaging tape, so that's why I'm using it. And put a couple of pieces on here just to make sure that your transfer paper stays in place. If there's a seam here, I like to make sure to put a piece of tape right in there to connect the seam so that it holds it all together well. And then here we go. We've got our image with the tracing paper behind it. Now, if you want, you could cut off the edges of this extra tracing paper, but I don't do that since I'm reusing this tracing paper for lots of different projects. And it's just fine to leave it like this. It might not look the best, but it functions just as well. And then what you want to do when you are lining your image up here, you want to make sure that the corners and everything are all lined up. Because if you have this off, when you trace it, if it's not exactly lined up, it's not going to show lined up underneath here on your canvas. So I just like to kind of run my hands along here, just make sure that everything is right. Like this side wasn't quite good enough. Just make sure that it's as centered on there as I can get it. And then now we just secure it to the back with the tape. I'm going to flip this around. Normally I just leave this up here, but I want to show you. Here is what it looks like on the back with the tape. I just have it secured. I like to try to tape it down onto the wood and push a really good amount just to make sure that it stays put. Because you don't want this thing coming loose while you're tracing it. You want it to stay where it is so you can get a good image transfer. I like to do a good outline around the outside. Some people will put more detail in these tracings than others. I don't need that much detail. I'm just using these for main landmarks throughout my paintings. So that way I have the proportions right. And I know like where the eyes are supposed to be in relation to the nose and the ears. I like to do a good tracing of the eyes. If you don't get everything perfectly right, that's why you can, use your drawing skills to be able to fix this once you're painting. The main thing though is just to get a good approximation of where everything is. You can see my image is kind of blurry. It's not the most crisp. And that's why whenever you are doing a tracing, You are going to want to not completely rely on it for your proportions and everything once your piece is done. It's just a good starting point. And I'm using a pencil to trace with. The main thing is you want it to make sure that it's fairly sharp so that way you can trace in there good details. When you're tracing, you want to try to decide what areas are most important for you to see later when you're actually making the painting and which aren't. So that's why I like to just go over the borders of everything. But if you want to get like exact marks on here, like if you want to know where all of the spots are on this particular Dalmatian, you could also just like color in some of the areas while you're tracing. So you don't have to just use lines. You can kind of color like I'm doing like this. But primarily I like to just save myself time on my image transfer, and I just create outlines because really all I need are benchmarks. Once you think you have all of the outlines traced where you want them to go, then it's a good idea just to hold this up without untaping it, just to make sure that everything looks pretty good. And it does. I mean, this eye doesn't look quite right, but I'm going to fix that when I paint it. But at least I have all of the major benchmarks there. I always do this step because you never know. Sometimes you think you trace everything, and then in the end, it turns out that you forgot something that you really wished you would have had in there. So always make sure to double check. And one last tip, when you're removing this, I like to flip this up and then just kind of pull these down. And you can get these off usually without tearing them or ripping them, so that way you can reuse them next time. And here we have the transferred Dalmatian onto the canvas. Now, if you want some more resources on how to do acrylic paintings, like all of the basic skills, I have an entire playlist. You can watch it right here on YouTube, absolutely free. It's going to teach you everything you need to know, from painting areas of flat color to blending areas of color. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. See you next time.